pen trembles in Warren Chen's hand. In a windowless conference room on the 11th floor of a downtown Sacramento office tower, 74-year-old Warren and his wife Margaret, 72, sit surrounded by documents they don't fully understand and people whose smiles don't reach their eyes. They thought they'd won. After months of depositions, after joining 42 other families in a class action lawsuit against the predatory lenders who targeted Chinese-speaking seniors, after their daughter Linda spent her final months building the case that would save their home, they thought justice meant something. The settlement administrator is explaining why $186,000 is actually $83,700. Why signing today is their only option. Why 3 more years of fighting at their age, with Warren's blood pressure, with the shame and the exhaustion, isn't worth it. Margaret watches her husband's hand shake over the signature line. She thinks of Linda's reading glasses, still on their coffee table 11 weeks after the funeral. She thinks of the foreclosure notice that nearly took everything. She thinks of the young man who knocked on their door 6 months ago with casseroles and her daughter's leather work satchel, saying words that made no sense. Linda made me promise. Then the door opens. Behind the young man in the doorway stand 3 people the administrators didn't expect. A state banking regulator with a recording device, a civil rights attorney with a cease and desist letter, and Linda's former supervisor with receipts, actual documented proof that this entire conference is a setup designed to steal what these families already won. The young man's name is Darius Mitchell. 6 months ago, he was a stranger. Today, he's about to become their son. Have you ever watched someone you love nearly lose everything to people who counted on them being too tired, too confused, or too polite to fight back? Stay with us to witness how an elderly immigrant couple drowning in grief. A foster kid who aged out of the system with nothing but a promise and a daughter's final act of trust became a family that rewrote the rules, not just for themselves, but for every vulnerable elder who comes after them. This is a story about what happens when the system underestimates the wrong people. When receipts meet righteous anger, and when chosen family proves fiercer than blood. This is their story. The mail had become a physical thing, a mountain of white and manila that had colonized the dining room table, then spread to the chairs, then finally to the floor around Margaret Chen's slippered feet. 3 months worth. Maybe 4. She'd stopped counting after the funeral. She sat in the weak November morning light, Warren's untouched coffee growing cold on the side table. He was in his workshop again, 4th day straight. She could hear the rhythmic scrape of his hand playing through the walls, the sound that used to mean he was peaceful, working through a problem of cement, wood grain, and joinery. Now it just meant he couldn't be in the same room as her grief. Linda's reading glasses were still on the coffee table. 11 weeks. Margaret had moved them once, to dust underneath, then put them back in the exact same spot, arms folded, lenses catching the light. As if Linda might walk in, apologetic about leaving them behind, sliding them onto her nose with that gesture Margaret knew better than her own heartbeat. The house smelled stale, closed up. Something in the refrigerator had gone bad. But Margaret couldn't make herself care enough to find it. Her fingers found an envelope, creamy and official. The return address swam before her eyes, words in English that took too long to process. Apex Reverse Mortgage. Her stomach clenched. Warren had hidden these for a while, she knew. Stuffed them in drawers, buried them under newspapers. Trying to protect her, maybe, or himself from the truth Linda had been fighting. The paper tore under her shaking hands. Notice of default. Final opportunity to cure. Foreclosure proceedings to commence. Numbers that made no sense. They owed $340,000. The house was worth $280,000. How was that possible? The nice man who'd come to their door 2 years ago, the one who spoke Mandarin, who'd brought tea and called Warren Shifu, master craftsman. With such respect, he'd said this was free money. Keep your house forever. The government wants to help elders like you. Linda had tried to explain it to them near the end, when she still had strength to sit up in the hospice bed. Her voice thin as paper, medical terms mixed with financial ones Margaret couldn't hold in her head. Predatory, Linda had said. They targeted you, Mama, because you trust, because you're polite, because you believe in America. Margaret called Linda's cell phone just to hear her voice. Hi, you've reached Linda Chen. Leave a message and I'll call you back. The beep. Margaret's throat closed. She hung up without speaking, like always. The foreclosure notice slipped from her fingers to join the pile. Warren's plane stopped scraping. She heard his footsteps, slow, heavy old man steps they'd both developed this year, come up the basement stairs. He stood in the doorway to the dining room, sawdust in his hair, looking at her and the mail and Linda's glasses. His face was carved stone. They're taking the house, Margaret whispered. Warren took the notice, read it. His hands, steady enough for 40 years of fine joinery, trembled. He set it down on the pile, turned, walked back to his shop. The plane started scraping again. Margaret sat in the wreckage of their lives and thought, this is how we disappear. The knock came at 8 that night, insistent, rhythmic. 3 sharp raps, pause, 3 more. Then a male voice, unfamiliar, with an edge of determination. I know you're in there. Linda made me promise. Margaret opened the door to a wall of a man, 28, maybe 30, black, broad shoulders straining a faded warrior's hoodie. A scar bisecting his left eyebrow, and at his feet, sitting with military precision, a pit bull wearing a vest that said therapy dog in reflective letters. In his hands, 2 casserole dishes, steam escaping the foil. I'm Darius, he said. Darius Mitchell. Your daughter mentored me. Margaret's English fled. She stared at him, at the dog, at the dishes, trying to arrange these elements into something that made sense. Behind her, Warren's footsteps. He'd heard the knock, come up from the workshop, was standing in the hallway with a crowbar in his hand. Not threatening exactly, but ready. Darius held up his free arm, showing he was unarmed. Linda was my social worker, 3 years. I aged out of foster care at 21. She got me through community college, helped me become a paralegal. He shifted the casseroles. I have her work bag, the one she kept the important stuff in. Linda is... Margaret's voice caught. Linda died. I know. Something flickered across his face. Grief sharp and fresh. I was at the funeral. Back row. I didn't want to intrude on family. He paused. She texted me from hospice, made me promise to check on you. Warren had moved closer, still holding the crowbar. Show me the text. Darius set the casseroles on the porch railing, pulled out his phone, held it up. Warren's eyes, weakening with age, couldn't read the screen from this distance. Darius stepped forward slowly, let Warren take the phone. Margaret watched her husband's face change as he read. His shoulders, held rigid for weeks, softened. She wrote, "Promise me. Don't let them disappear." "May I come in?" Darius asked. "The chicken's getting cold." Margaret found herself nodding, stepping back. Darius entered like he'd mapped the space beforehand. Decisive but respectful, the dog heeling perfectly at his side. He assessed the chaos with quick sweeps of his eyes, then headed straight for the kitchen. Warren and Margaret followed, unsure what else to do. Darius set the casseroles on the stove, turned on the oven to warm them, then opened the refrigerator. His nose wrinkled. "When did you last shop for groceries?" Neither of them answered. "Okay." He started pulling out containers, checking dates, making a pile of expired food on the counter. The dog, Bear, his vest said, sat watching, calm as meditation. "I'm going to be here a while. That work for you?" "We didn't ask," Warren began. "Linda did." Darius's voice was gentle but immovable. He opened a cabinet, found trash bags, started loading the expired food. "She made me executor of her personal effects. The stuff she kept at her apartment, the files, her work on your case." He tied off one bag, started another. "I've been trying to figure out the right time to come. Then I drove by last week, saw your mail piling up through the window, and realized there wasn't going to be a right time." Margaret sank into a kitchen chair. "What do you want from us?" Darius stopped, turned to face her. "I want to finish what Linda started. And I want..." His voice caught. "She was the only person who came to my paralegal graduation. She sat in that auditorium alone, for me, because I had nobody else. She saw me when the world was done seeing me." He swallowed hard. "Let me pay that forward." Bear left his position, walked to Margaret, laid his heavy head in her lap. She found her hand moving automatically to his warm fur. 30 days, Darius said. "Give me 30 days to help you. Then decide." Warren looked at his wife. Margaret looked at the dog, the first living warmth she'd felt in 11 weeks. "Okay," she whispered. 30 days. Darius stayed in Linda's room because Margaret couldn't find words to refuse when he asked so gently, showing them the text again, explaining he had nowhere else right now, anyway. Wednesday night, Margaret woke at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom and saw light spilling from the dining room. She found him there, surrounded by paper, documents spread across the table in careful piles. Linda's leather satchel open like a wound, its contents exposed to fluorescent light. He looked up, startled. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you. What is all this?" Darius gestured at the organized chaos. "Linda's investigation. She documented everything." He held up a page covered in characters Margaret recognized, her daughter's handwriting, mixing English and phonetic Mandarin. "She taught me phrases. Tried to, anyway. I'm butchering the pronunciation. But I'm trying to understand what she found." Margaret moved closer, her heart contracting. Recorded phone calls, their dates and durations noted in Linda's precise hand. Complaint letters sent and returned, spreadsheets listing names. 16 other families, all with Chinese surnames, all contacted by the same Mandarin-speaking agent who'd come to their door. She was building a case, Darius said, against Apex, against the whole system. He opened a notebook. Linda's journal from the hospice. The pages thin as grief. "I shouldn't read this without asking, but..." His voice cracked. "She wrote about you, about how she failed you." "No." The word came sharp, reflexive. "I should have protected them," Darius read, his finger tracing Linda's writing. "They trusted because I raised them to trust authority. They signed because saying no felt disrespectful. The agent knew this. He weaponized their politeness. He weaponized me, their daughter, their American daughter, who they think understands this country better than they do. I was supposed to be their protection, and I let them down. Margaret gripped the table's edge. She blamed herself for being sick. Darius's eyes were wet. For not having more time. For fighting this case while dying instead of just being with you. He closed the journal carefully, reverently. She was wrong, Mrs. Chen. She didn't fail you. They failed. The people who saw your trust and exploited it. Margaret sank into a chair. Around her, evidence of predation, fees that made no sense, interest rates that compounded impossibly, a loan structured to guarantee default. Linda had highlighted sections, written angry notes in margins, connected dots between corporate entities designed to obscure accountability. We can't let this mean nothing, Darius said. She died fighting. We finished the fight. Thursday afternoon, Darius drove them to a legal aid clinic in an office park that smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. A young attorney with kind eyes explained foreclosure timelines in words Margaret half understood. 60 days. After that, their house, 43 years of mortgage payments, of Linda's childhood bedroom, of Warren's workshop, would belong to strangers. But then, Darius produced another envelope from the mail pile. This one official, bordered in blue. A class action lawsuit against Apex Reverse Mortgage. Notice of settlement negotiations. Eligible plaintiffs invited to join. This is it, Darius insisted, his intensity making Margaret nervous. This is how we fight back. Warren, who'd been silent through the consultation, spoke. Why are you really doing this? Darius met his eyes. Because Linda kept her promise to me. I'm keeping mine to her. Friday morning, they sat at the dining room table while Darius explained forms, walking them through each line, his Mandarin phrases awkward, but earnest enough to make Margaret's chest ache. Warren signed first. Margaret's hand shook over her own signature. Outside, rain began to fall. Inside, something shifted. Not hope exactly, but maybe it's possibility. Darius answered Warren's question Friday afternoon, producing a manila folder from his backpack with the careful handling of something precious. His foster care case file. Margaret watched him lay it open on the table. Pages and pages of placements, each one dated, each one a different family giving up on the broken kid they couldn't fix. 17 homes in 12 years, Darius said quietly. Some lasted 2 months, some lasted 2 weeks. There was this one place, the Hendersons. They were nice for about 5 days. Then I broke a lamp playing basketball inside, and that was it, back to the group home. He flipped pages like wounds. I learned not to unpack completely. Kept my important stuff in my backpack so I could grab it fast when the social worker came. Margaret's hands found each other in her lap, squeezing. When I aged out at 21, the state gave me $300 and an apartment lead that was already rented to someone else. I was couch surfing, working fast food, failing community college because I couldn't concentrate. He looked up. Then Linda got assigned to me. I was a hostile client, angry, testing whether she'd quit on me like everyone else. Warren leaned forward, listening with a carpenter's attention to structural detail. She didn't quit. She got me into a different program, helped me apply for aid, showed up at my apartment when I stopped answering calls to make sure I'd eaten. Darius's voice roughened. When I passed the paralegal exam, she drove 2 hours to the testing center. She was the only person in the auditorium when they read my name, the only person. His hands fisted on the table. She saw me when the world was done seeing me. She made me promise I'd pay it forward. We're not charity, Warren said, but without heat. No, sir. Your family. Linda's family, which makes you mine by extension, if you'll have me. Darius straightened his shoulders, professional again. I'm proposing a deal. 30 days. Let me stay, help you join this lawsuit, stop the foreclosure. I'll cook, maintain the house, handle paperwork. In exchange, you teach me whatever you want. Mandarin, woodworking. How to make your congee recipe, Mrs. Chen. His voice cracked. I need to finish what she started. And I think maybe you need someone who won't let you disappear. Margaret looked at Warren. Warren looked at his hands, still scarred from decades of wood splinters and saw blades, still capable of building beautiful things if he could remember why beauty mattered. 30 days, Warren said finally. Then, we decide. The weekend became ritual. Saturday morning, Darius cooked breakfast. Scrambled eggs with whatever he found in the refrigerator, toast from frozen bread, coffee strong enough to taste like purpose. He moved through their kitchen with the efficiency of someone who'd learned to cook in kitchens that weren't his, making do with whatever wasn't off limits. Foster kid improvisation, he explained when Margaret praised the meal. Rule 1, use everything before it goes bad. Rule 2, never ask for seconds. Rule 3, clean up so thoroughly they can't complain. He smiled, but it had edges. Saturday afternoon, Warren led him to the wood shop. 40 years of tools hung on pegboards, each in its designated spot, waiting for hands that remembered how to use them. Warren picked up a hand plane, demonstrating the proper grip, the angle of approach. Darius followed his movements like prayer. They visited Linda's grave together that evening. Darius brought flowers, bright gerbera daisies that looked nothing like funeral arrangements. He knelt on the grass, reading aloud from her journal entries about her parents' immigration, their sacrifices, her pride in their stubborn survival. Margaret cried finally, deep, wrenching sobs that had been dammed up for 11 weeks. Darius and Warren stood on either side of her, not touching, just present. Bear pressed against her legs, steady and warm. Sunday, they submitted the class action enrollment documents. That night, Bear slept at the foot of Margaret's bed, his snoring oddly comforting. Warren told her quietly in the dark, he has her stubbornness, her way of not asking permission. Margaret touched Linda's reading glasses on the nightstand. Yes, she whispered. He does. 2 weeks dissolved into routine with the strange speed of necessity. Darius integrated into their household like he'd studied its rhythms first, rising before them to make coffee, cleaning efficiently but not intrusively, occupying Linda's room without trying to erase her from it. Her books remained on the shelves. Her graduation photo stayed on the dresser. Mornings became language lessons. Warren taught Mandarin with a craftsman's patience, correcting Darius's tones with the same precision he'd use on a dovetail joint. Darius absorbed words like building materials, practicing with Warren in the wood shop, Mugong, woodworker, Renayi, patience, Jiaren, family. Afternoons found them outside where Margaret tended the small vegetable garden Linda had helped her plant 3 springs ago. Darius weeded, learning the difference between basil and invaders, listening to Margaret's stories about Linda's childhood in fractured sentences that mixed English and Mandarin and grief. Monday morning, the mail brought their first class action response. Margaret signed for the certified letter with shaking hands, carried it inside where Darius and Warren waited at the kitchen table like a tribunal of hope. Darius opened it carefully, read quickly, then looked up with something bright in his expression. You're in. Accepted as plaintiffs. He kept reading. Settlement conference in 6 weeks, and his eyebrows rose. They want to consider you as class representatives. Linda's documentation made you prime candidates. Warren's face went pale. What does that mean? Public testimony. Depositions. You'd be the face of the case. Darius watched Warren's hands tremble. I know it's frightening. We can practice. We'll prepare until you know every answer. My English, Margaret began. Is fine, Darius said firmly. And I'll be there. Jennifer, the lead attorney, she'll make sure you're protected. Warren pushed back from the table abruptly. I need to think. He retreated to his workshop. Margaret heard the scrape of his plane resume, rhythmic and desperate. That afternoon brought Linda's siblings. Robert and Susan arrived unannounced, their rental car pulling into the driveway with the aggressive efficiency of people who'd driven from Los Angeles with prepared arguments. Margaret saw them through the window and felt her stomach clench. They'll want us to give up, she told Darius, to be practical. Are you ready to be impractical? Darius asked. She wasn't sure, but she nodded anyway. Dinner was tense from the moment Robert saw Darius at the stove, cooking with the casual comfort of someone who belonged. Susan's eyes went sharp and suspicious, tracking Darius's movements, cataloging his presence in their parents' house, in Linda's space. Who are you exactly? Susan asked, her tone suggesting she already didn't like the answer. Darius explained. Linda's former client, the mentorship, the promise. Robert and Susan exchanged glances that spoke volumes about their skepticism. Mom, Dad, Robert said carefully. We think you should accept whatever settlement they offer. Sell the house. Move somewhere with support staff. You've been through enough. Somewhere we can manage you, he means, Darius muttered. Too quiet for them to hear. Margaret heard it anyway. Susan leaned forward, her voice honey-coated concern. This lawsuit could take years, more stress, more uncertainty, and frankly, she glanced at Darius. I'm uncomfortable with strangers making decisions for you. Warren's chopsticks clattered against his bowl. He's doing what Linda asked. What you should have done. The silence cracked like ice. We have jobs, Robert said defensively. Families, responsibilities. So did Linda, Warren replied, his voice cold as January. She was dying, and she still showed up. Robert and Susan left shortly after, their departure brittle with unspoken accusations. Margaret watched their taillights disappear and felt exhausted. I'm sorry, Darius said. I'm causing problems. No. Margaret touched his arm. You're revealing them. That's different. Tuesday evening, she asked him, what did Linda tell you about us? Darius considered his answer carefully. She said you came here with nothing but hope and built a whole life from it. She said you taught her that survival is its own kind of courage. He paused. She was afraid you'd vanish, that grief would erase you, that without her, you'd stop fighting and just disappear. Margaret felt tears coming again. Maybe that would be easier. Easier isn't the same as right, Darius said gently. Linda didn't fight easy fights. Neither do we. Outside, Sacramento night settled over their small house. Inside, three people who'd found each other in wreckage sat together, learning what family could mean when you built it intentionally, one day at a time. Jennifer Walsh arrived Wednesday morning with 2 paralegals, a rolling case of documents, and the kind of smile that meant she was worried but trying not to show it. Margaret made tea. Nobody drank while the legal team transformed their living room into a war room. Your documentation is extraordinary, Jennifer said, spreading Linda's files across the coffee table. But I need to be honest. Apex's attorneys will come at you hard. They'll try to confuse you, make you second-guess what you remember, exploit any hesitation. Warren's jaw tightened. Margaret felt her stomach clench. Darius, sitting cross-legged on the floor with Bear's head in his lap, asked quietly, "Can I observe the prep sessions? Take notes?" Jennifer hesitated, then nodded. Actually, that might help. The next 3 days became immersion in legal strategy. Jennifer explained the predatory scheme with clinical precision. Apex had specifically targeted Chinese and Vietnamese seniors, using native language agents who weaponized cultural trust. Inflated home values, excessive fees hidden in Mandarin translations that didn't match English documents, loan structure, loan to guarantee default. 43 plaintiffs originally, Jennifer said. We're down to 26. 17 dropped out. Why? Margaret asked. Pressure, exhaustion. Some got settlement offers, $8,000, $10,000, and took them rather than keep fighting. Thursday afternoon, Jennifer role-played opposing counsel. She fired questions at Margaret in rapid English, using legal terminology, demanding yes or no answers. Margaret froze, her mind blanking, words tangling between languages. I'm sorry, Margaret whispered after the third attempt. Your English is fine, Darius interrupted. He'd been watching from the corner, taking notes in his careful paralegal's hand. But you're not being asked the right way. He looked at Jennifer. Mrs. Chen doesn't process information linearly. She thinks in stories, in emotional context. Every time you ask her a direct question, you're forcing her into a communication style that's not natural to her. Jennifer frowned. The opposing attorneys won't care about her communication style. Then let them ask direct questions and look like bullies when she struggles, Darius said. But when you ask questions, let her tell the story. The agent's visits, the tea they shared, the promises made in Mandarin, her trust based on cultural respect for elders and authority. Jennifer considered this. That's actually strategic. Narrative testimony humanizes the case. Friday brought Warren's prep. His anger was controlled but palpable as he described watching Linda fight their battle while dying. She used her last strength for this, he said, his voice tight as pulled wire. They took that time from us. They stole her final months. The room went quiet. Jennifer packed her materials that afternoon, then pulled Darius aside. You have good instincts. We're bringing on paid interns to help with other plaintiffs in the class. Interested? Yes, Darius said immediately. Then softer. I've been doing food delivery at night to cover expenses. Margaret overheard from the kitchen. Her throat tightened. He'd been sacrificing for them, and they hadn't even known. That evening, she made Darius his favorite, the congee he'd requested weeks ago. A small gesture. But Warren helped her, chopping scallions with his carpenter's precision. And somehow that felt like family. The community center smelled like industrial coffee, and too many bodies in too small a space. Margaret clutched Warren's arm as they entered, Darius a steady presence behind them with Bear on his vest. 12 families, mostly elderly, mostly Asian, sat in a circle of folding chairs. Their faces carried the same exhaustion Margaret saw in her mirror, the weight of fighting systems designed to grind them down. Jennifer made introductions. Margaret's English stumbled over names, but then a woman spoke in Cantonese. I'm Mrs. Nguyen. I lost my house completely. 78, maybe 80. Vietnamese, her accent thick, but her eyes sharp, with survivor's recognition. Margaret felt something unlock in her chest. My son died 5 years ago, Mrs. Nguyen continued, switching to English for the others. Car accident. I was alone, grieving. The mortgage agent came speaking Vietnamese, so respectful. called me grandmother. I trusted him. Her voice cracked. Now I live in subsidized housing. Everything gone. Margaret reached across the circle, took her hand. Mrs. Nguyen squeezed back. Other stories spilled out. The Tangs, living with their son's family in a crowded apartment, sleeping on a pull-out couch. Mr. Wu, whose wife's medical bills had made them vulnerable to the predatory loan. Mrs. Park, who spoke almost no English and signed documents she couldn't read because the agent assured her it was standard. Some families already took settlements, Mr. Tang said bitterly. $10,000, 15. They were too tired to keep fighting. Darius had been circulating quietly, taking notes, asking gentle questions. Now he spoke up. How many of you got direct offers from the settlement administrator before the final conference? 6 hands rose, then 8. Did they pressure you to sign quickly? Darius pressed. Nods around the circle. Mrs. Nguyen said, they told me I was holding up everyone else. That at my age, more fighting wasn't worth it. Warren's hands fisted on his knees. Margaret felt her own anger rising. Not the paralysis of grief, but something hotter, cleaner. That evening, Margaret and Mrs. Nguyen sat in the community center kitchen while others packed up. They spoke in fragments of Cantonese and English about their children, their losses, their rage at systems that saw elderly immigrants as easy targets. Your daughter fought for you, Mrs. Nguyen said. My son would have, if he'd lived. We fight for them now, Margaret replied. Mrs. Nguyen smiled, sad but fierce. Yes, we fight. At home that night, Warren's blood pressure spiked. Margaret found him in the bathroom, hands braced on the sink, breathing hard. The deposition summons sat on the counter. Official, intimidating, undeniable. Darius appeared in the doorway with water and medication. Breathe, he said calmly. In through your nose, out through your mouth. 4 counts each. Therapy techniques learned through trauma. Darius guided Warren through the panic with practiced patience. And Margaret watched her husband, proud, stoic Warren, accept help from this young man who'd somehow become essential. The downtown office building smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and expensive coffee. Margaret gripped Warren's arm as they entered the conference room where 3 attorneys in suits that cost more than her monthly grocery budget waited behind stacks of documents. Darius sat in the observer section, notepad ready, bare calm at his feet. He'd drilled her all week. Tell the story, don't let them rush you. The lead attorney, Harrison, his nameplate read, smiled without warmth. Mrs. Chen, you signed these documents of your own free will, correct? Margaret's English scattered. The man said, yes or no, please. Her throat closed. She looked at Darius. He nodded once, steady as stone. May I explain? Margaret asked softly. Harrison's impatience showed. We need clear answers, Mrs. Chen. Jennifer Walsh, their attorney, leaned forward. My client is entitled to provide context for her responses. Margaret took a breath and began. Not in the language of contracts and clauses, but in the language of trust betrayed. She described the agent's visits, how he'd removed his shoes at the door, how he'd brought tea and called Warren Shifu with such respect, how he'd spoken Mandarin, explaining this was like a gift from the government. You keep your home forever, your daughter won't have to worry. We believed, Margaret said, her voice growing stronger. In our country, you respect authority. You trust people who speak your language, who understand your culture. He knew this. He used this. She pulled Linda's journal from her bag. Darius had suggested she bring it. Her hands trembled as she found the page she'd marked. "My daughter wrote this 2 months before she died." Margaret's voice cracked but held. "They targeted my parents because they trust authority, because they don't challenge people who speak their language, because they came here believing America is fair. They weaponized politeness. They weaponized me." The room went silent. One of the younger attorneys shifted uncomfortably. Warren's deposition followed. His anger was controlled, precise as his woodworking cuts. "My daughter spent her last strength fighting this. She should have been with us, making memories, saying goodbye properly. Instead, she was on the phone with attorneys, gathering documents, trying to save our home." His voice dropped to something dangerous. "You took that time from us. You can't give it back." By evening, Jennifer called with news. "Your depositions were exceptional. I've never seen opposing counsel that rattled." Darius cooked celebration dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and the garlic bread Margaret had taught him to make. But the kitchen felt different, lighter. "You gave us our voices back," Margaret told him. Darius shook his head. "Linda did. I just reminded you they were always there." Warren raised his water glass. "To Linda, and to finishing what she started. They drank to the dead and the living, to grief transformed into purpose." The certified letter arrived Friday morning, official and ominous. Margaret signed for it, with hands that had learned to shake less in recent weeks. Inside, preliminary settlement approved. $12.6 million for 43 plaintiffs. The Chen's share, approximately $186,000, enough to clear the reverse mortgage completely, keep their home, have cushion remaining. "We won," Margaret whispered. But the second page outlined mandatory attendance at a settlement conference next Friday. Signatures required to finalize distribution. Darius read it 3 times, his paralegal training making him cautious. Something feels off about the timing. That weekend, Robert and Susan returned from Los Angeles, uninvited and unwelcome. They arrived Saturday afternoon with prepared arguments and thinly veiled impatience. "Take the money, sell the house anyway, move somewhere with medical support," Robert insisted over tea nobody was drinking. "You've been through enough." Susan's eyes kept tracking to Darius in the kitchen, making dinner they hadn't asked for. "We're concerned about your judgment," she said carefully, "about who's influencing your decisions." Warren's chopsticks clattered against his bowl. "Darius has done more for us in 6 months than you've done in 6 years." The silence cracked like ice. "We have jobs," Susan said defensively. "Responsibilities. We can't just drop everything." "Linda did," Warren interrupted, his voice cold. "She was dying, and she still showed up." After they left, Margaret found another envelope in the mail pile. This one addressed directly to her and Warren, not through Jennifer Walsh. Inside, a personal offer from Apex Settlement Services. "Sign immediately for $55,000, bypass the Friday conference, avoid additional stress." Darius photographed it immediately. "This is wrong. Why would the settlement administrator contact you directly?" He called Jennifer, who swore sharply over the phone. "That's illegal. The administrator is supposed to be neutral." Sunday morning, Darius pulled up Apex Settlement Services' corporate registration. His face went pale. The administrator is owned by a subsidiary of Sentinel Capital Group. They own 34% of Apex Reverse Mortgage's parent company. Margaret didn't understand the corporate structure, but she understood Darius's expression. "They're still stealing from us," Warren said flatly. Monday afternoon, Darius made a decision. He scrolled through his phone to a number he'd saved months ago. Patricia Reeves, Linda's former supervisor. The woman who'd been at her paralegal graduation, who'd stayed in touch after. Ms. Reeves? It's Darius Mitchell. I need help. They're trying to do to the Chens what they've been doing to vulnerable people for years. He explained everything. Patricia listened in silence, then, I know people. Give me until tomorrow. Patricia Reeves met Darius at a coffee shop Tuesday morning, arriving with the purposeful efficiency of someone accustomed to navigating bureaucracy for people who couldn't. I remember Linda talking about her parents, Patricia said, stirring her coffee. She was terrified they'd lose everything while she was dying. Darius showed her the documentation, the direct settlement offers, the corporate ownership structure, his notes from conversations with other class members. Mrs. Nguyen had received a similar letter. So had the Tangs. 3 families had already signed, pressured by promises of faster payment, less stress. Patricia pulled out her phone. I know a state banking regulator who's been investigating reverse mortgage fraud. Marcus Chen. No relation to your family. He's good, and he doesn't let things slide. By Wednesday, Darius had assembled a case file that would make Linda proud. Time-stamped emails, recorded phone calls, with permission, spreadsheets tracking the pattern. He met with Sarah Mendez, a civil rights attorney Patricia recommended, who reviewed everything with growing alarm. This is systematic exploitation, Sarah said. They're counting on people being too tired to fight. Will you come Friday? Darius asked. As an observer? Pro bono, Sarah confirmed. I'll bring cease and desist letters. Wednesday evening, Margaret couldn't sleep. She wandered the house at 2 a.m., finding Warren already awake in his workshop, hand playing motionless on the bench. What if we just accept? Margaret whispered. Take the settlement. End this stress. Warren's hands fisted. Linda didn't raise us to give up. But his voice shook. His blood pressure medication sat on the workbench, daily reminder of what this fight was costing. Thursday afternoon, Darius took them to Linda's grave. The November air smelled like rain coming. He opened Linda's journal to an entry from her final month. I'm teaching Darius that receipts matter, that paper trails matter, that people like us, the ones systems throw away, can fight back if we document everything. If I can't finish this fight, maybe he can. Maybe together, they all can. She believed in us, Darius said, voice thick. All of us. We can't let her be wrong. Warren gripped Darius's shoulder. Margaret touched Linda's headstone. That evening, they practiced for Friday. Darius role-played every pressure tactic: urgency, confusion, isolation, shame. Remember, he said, don't sign anything until we've read everything. And I'll be right there. Bear pressed against Margaret's legs, warm and steady. Together? She whispered. The office tower gleamed steel and glass against Friday morning's harsh light. Margaret gripped Warren's arm as they entered the lobby, Darius a solid presence behind them. Jennifer Walsh met them by the elevators, her professional smile not quite masking worry. They changed the format, she said quietly. Individual plaintiff meetings instead of group conference. Red flags rippled through Darius's mind, but before he could voice concern, they were ushered into the elevator. 11th floor, room 1147. The conference room was windowless, airless, designed to swallow sound and hope. 3 people waited. David Brennan, mid-50s, expensive suit, smile that never reached his eyes, flanked by 2 assistants with laptops already open. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, welcome, welcome. Brennan's warmth felt practiced, hollow. Coffee? Pastries? Please sit. No judge, no court reporter, just Brennan and his perfectly organized stacks of documents. "Where's everyone else?" Warren asked, voice tight. "We find individual meetings more efficient, less overwhelming for our plaintiffs." Brennan gestured to Jennifer. "Ms. Walsh can observe, of course. But this is really between you and the administrator." Darius started to object, but Brennan was already launching into his presentation. Numbers scrolled across a screen, $186,000 in bold, their portion of the settlement. Margaret felt a brief surge of relief. Then Brennan clicked to the next slide. "Administrative fees, 30%. Legal fees, 25%. After processing, your net settlement is $83,700. His tone suggested this was generous, expected. "Sign today. Payment within 5 business days." The documents were already prepared, signature lines highlighted in yellow. Margaret's English brain struggled to process the math. Wasn't the $186,000 supposed to be theirs? Warren reached for the papers, hands shaking. "Wait," Jennifer said sharply. "Those fees weren't disclosed in the preliminary agreement." Brennan produced another document, smooth as oil. "Court-approved amendment. Standard administrative costs. I need to review. Ms. Walsh, surely you understand time is money for your clients. 3 more years of litigation if they decline today. Appeals, legal costs mounting, and at the Chen's age..." He let the implication hang. "Is it worth the stress? Especially given Mr. Chen's blood pressure issues." Margaret felt ice flood her veins. How did he know about Warren's health? Warren picked up the pen. His hand trembled over the signature line. "Where's Darius?" Margaret whispered, suddenly desperate. He'd stepped out to the restroom before the meeting started. "Your young friend isn't a party to this settlement," Brennan said dismissively. "This is between you and the administrator. Now, if you'll just sign here and here." The clock read 10:40 a.m. Margaret looked at Warren. Warren looked at the pen. Behind them, Jennifer stood frozen, uncertain whether this was legal procedure or elaborate theft. Brennan's assistant sprang into action, producing charts and projections with the efficiency of a choreographed performance. One laptop showed a timeline, 3 years minimum if they rejected today's offer. Another displayed potential adverse outcomes, legal terminology for losing everything. "Mrs. Chen, I understand your hesitation." Brennan's voice dripped false sympathy. "But look at the reality. You're 72. Mr. Chen is 74 with documented health concerns. Can you afford 3 more years of stress?" Margaret's throat closed. The numbers swam before her eyes. Fees and percentages and words in English that took too long to translate into understanding. 17 other families have already signed, Brennan continued, filling the silence with pressure. "You're holding up distribution for everyone. Is that fair to them?" Guilt, sharp and familiar. Margaret had spent her life avoiding, inconveniencing others. Jennifer stood abruptly. "I need to call my managing partner. All parties must remain present during the settlement conference." Brennan's smile hardened at the edges. "Standard procedure." Warren's pen hovered. Margaret watched his hand shake and thought of Linda's journal, still in her purse. Linda, who'd spent her final months fighting this exact exploitation. Linda, who'd trusted them to be strong. But Margaret was so tired. And Warren's blood pressure medication sat at home, and the foreclosure notice still haunted her nightmares. And maybe peace was worth more than pride. "Think of your daughter's memory," Brennan said softly, as if reading her mind. "She'd want you to have peace, to rest, to stop fighting and just accept." The words landed like blows. Margaret's vision blurred with tears. Warren set pen to paper. The door opened. Darius entered, not alone. Behind him stood three people Brennan clearly hadn't expected. A professional black woman in county social services badge, an Asian man in a suit holding a phone recording everything, and a Latina attorney whose expression promised legal warfare. "Don't sign anything," Darius said. His voice was steady, but his hands shook as he placed a folder on the table. "Mr. Brennan, these are the corporate documents showing Apex Settlement Services is owned by Sentinel Capital Group, which owns 34% of Apex Reverse Mortgage's parent company." Sarah Mendez stepped forward, delivering papers to Brennan with surgical precision. "Cease and desist. Elder financial abuse. Conflict of interest. This conference is over." Marcus Chen identified himself as a state banking regulator. "This is now part of an active investigation." Patricia Reeves added quietly, "I supervised Linda Chen for 8 years. I know what she documented, and this isn't it." The room's power shifted like tectonic plates. Brennan's smile finally died. Margaret began to cry, not from defeat, but relief. The door opened. Darius entered, not alone. Behind him stood three people who transformed the room's entire atmosphere. Patricia Reeves in her county badge, Marcus Chen with his phone held high, recording everything, and Sarah Mendez carrying a tablet in righteous fury. "Don't sign anything," Darius said. His voice was steady, but Margaret saw his hands shake as he placed a folder on the table. "Mr. Brennan, these documents show Apex Settlement Services is owned by Sentinel Capital Group, which owns 34% of Apex Reverse Mortgage's parent company." The words hung in the air like an accusation finding its target. Sarah Mendez stepped forward, her heels sharp against tile. Sarah Mendez, civil rights attorney. "This is a cease and desist letter citing elder financial abuse statutes and conflict of interest violations. This conference is over." Marcus Chen spoke with regulatory calm that somehow felt more threatening than anger. "Marcus Chen, state banking regulator, I'm formally notifying you that this meeting is now part of an active investigation into predatory settlement practices." Brennan's smile cracked at the edges. "This is highly irregular. You can't interrupt a court-ordered settlement conference." "This isn't a courthouse," Marcus interrupted quietly. "There's no judge present. And you've been operating under false pretenses." Patricia Reeves added, her voice warm but immovable. "I supervised Linda Chen for 8 years. I know what she documented. I know what she'd say about this setup." She looked at Margaret and Warren. "Your daughter spent her final months protecting you. We're finishing what she started." Brennan's assistants closed their laptops simultaneously, a choreographed surrender. Margaret felt tears coming, not from stress this time, but from relief so profound it hurt. Warren's hand found hers under the table and squeezed. Jennifer Walsh stood abruptly, her professional composure finally cracking into visible anger. "I need to contact my managing partner immediately. This is..." She struggled for words adequate to the betrayal. "This is unconscionable." Darius opened his folder, revealing months of documentation. Photographs of the settlement letters sent directly to plaintiffs. Emails he'd exchanged with other class members. Notes from his conversation with Mrs. Nguyen about the pressure tactics she'd faced. 17 families received these direct offers, Darius said, his paralegal training evident in his organized presentation. 6 that we know of signed before Friday. Mrs. Chen and Mr. Chen were supposed to be number 7 and 8. His voice broke slightly on the numbers, and Margaret realized he'd been carrying this weight alone, building this case while they slept, protecting them the way Linda had tried to protect them. "My mother." Darius stopped, corrected himself. "Linda was my social worker, but she became my mother in every way that mattered. She spent her last months building this case because she knew systems protect themselves. She taught me that receipts matter, that paper trails matter, that persistence matters. He looked at Margaret and Warren. She died believing you'd get justice. I won't let her be wrong. What followed was 4 hours of systematic intervention that felt like watching a building collapse in controlled demolition. Marcus Chen took command with regulatory authority that couldn't be dismissed or charmed away. He required Brennan to produce all communications with other class members. Every email, every letter, every documented contact. Sarah Mendez called Jennifer's managing partner, who arrived within 30 minutes, her fury at the breach making Brennan physically retreat in his chair. Together they began reconstructing the pattern. 19 families given similar backroom treatment, 15 who'd already signed reduced settlements under pressure. Darius's documentation became the foundation. His photographs time-stamped and geotagged. His notes detailed and cross-referenced. His recordings, he'd asked permission from everyone he'd spoken with, captured the fear and confusion of people being systematically exploited. Margaret and Warren provided testimony that Marcus recorded formally. Margaret described Brennan's pressure tactics, his weaponizing of Linda's memory, his manufactured urgency. Warren detailed the medical information Brennan shouldn't have known, the research that proved they'd been targeted specifically. The most powerful moment came when Darius presented Linda's complete case file. Her spreadsheet tracked 16 families initially, all Chinese or Vietnamese, all contacted by the same Mandarin or Vietnamese-speaking agent. Her notes documented the pattern. Inflated home values, excessive fees, loans structured to guarantee default. Her journal entries showed her growing horror as she recognized the systematic targeting. She documented everything, Darius said, his voice raw. Because she knew people like us, people the system considers disposable, only survive through receipts, through evidence, through refusing to let them erase us. He looked up, meeting Brennan's eyes. You counted on them being too tired, too confused, too polite to fight back. You didn't count on Linda teaching me that survival means documentation. You definitely didn't count on me. By 2 p.m., Marcus had enough evidence to trigger formal state investigation. Sarah filed emergency motions to void the settlement administrator and appoint a neutral party. She also filed for the 15 families who'd signed under duress to have their settlements voided and reinstated. At 3 p.m., Brennan and his assistants left under threat of criminal charges. The Chens, Darius, and their advocates remained in the conference room, exhausted but victorious. Jennifer approached Darius with something like awe. You built this case better than most attorneys I know. Linda taught me, Darius said simply. She taught me everything. Margaret reached for his hand. Warren gripped his shoulder. Outside, Sacramento afternoon blazed golden. Inside, a family forged in crisis stood together, having transformed grief into justice. 6 weeks later, the Sacramento County Courthouse felt different than it had during depositions. Sunlight streamed through tall windows. The judge, the same one who'd approved their restructured settlement, smiled warmly from the bench. Adult adoption is one of my favorite proceedings, she said, especially when it formalizes what clearly already exists. Margaret held the adoption papers with trembling hands. Beside her, Warren stood straighter than he had in months. And between them, Darius, no longer Mitchell, soon to be Chen, looked simultaneously terrified and hopeful. The settlement had been restructured under court-appointed neutral administration, $186,000 as originally calculated, their house saved, $82,000 remaining for the future. But more than that, the state investigation had led to criminal charges against Apex Settlement Services. Unprecedented regulatory changes for settlement administration practices. The 15 families who'd signed coerced agreements had their settlements voided and reinstated at proper amounts. Linda's documentation had created precedent. Do you, Margaret and Warren Chen, accept Darius Mitchell into your family as your legal son, with all rights and responsibilities that entails? We do, they said together. Warren's voice steady, Margaret's thick with tears. The judge's gavel fell. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, and welcome to the family, Darius Chen. At home, their found family waited. Patricia, Sarah, Marcus, Jennifer, Mrs. Nguyen bearing Vietnamese spring rolls. The dining room table, where Darius had first sorted mail at 2 a.m., overflowed with food and laughter. Warren had returned to his wood shop. On the mantel sat a box he'd made for Linda's ashes, next to her photo with teenage Darius at his paralegal graduation. Margaret gave a short speech thanking everyone. But her deepest words were for Darius. Our daughter saw your heart. She trusted you with us, and you honored that trust. Now, you honor our name. That evening, the three of them sat in their living room. Darius on the floor teaching Bear a new trick, Margaret knitting, Warren reading the newspaper. The unopened mail was gone. The house smelled like Margaret's cooking, congee simmering, scallions frying. They'd transformed grief into purpose. All three now volunteered through legal aid as settlement claims advocates, helping other vulnerable elders navigate complex litigation. She knew, Warren said softly. Somehow, Linda knew we'd need each other. She gave us a son when she left, Margaret added. Darius looked up, eyes shining. She gave me parents. Outside, Sacramento evening softened into twilight. Inside, a family built from loss, forged in battle, sustained by love, continued the work of protecting those who cannot protect themselves. They didn't replace Linda. They extended her legacy, one family at a time.